I never thought one weekend would change the rhythm of my heartbeat forever. My name is Evelyn Monroe. I'm 43 years old, married to a man who's always been more reliable than romantic. Edward, my husband, is a kind man, steady, well-spoken, and practical to the core. We met through mutual friends in Savannah, and I fell for his calm. But over time, his affection became habit. Our kisses turned to quick nods, and our bed became more of a resting place than a shared space. It wasn't that I didn't love him. I did. I still do, in some distant way. But something in me had begun to ache, not for someone new, but for something I hadn't felt in years. Then one day, he came home, Edward's son from his first marriage. A boy I'd only met once, years ago, at our wedding. He was just 16 then, all sharp cheekbones and quiet defiance. Now, 12 years later, he was a man. A dangerously handsome man. His name was Benjamin Carter. But everyone just called him Ben. He arrived unexpectedly that Friday night, during one of those long southern rains. I was in the kitchen in a silky night robe, nothing inappropriate, just something soft I wore when Edward stayed late at work. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened the door, I stared for a long moment, heart skipping in surprise. His broad frame filled the doorway. Wet from the rain, his shirt clung to his chest, revealing the sculpted body beneath. "Ben?" I asked, trying to steady my voice. "Hi, Evelyn," he said, smiling, that slow, deep grin that somehow pulled something inside me tight. "Is Dad home?" "No," I said quickly, stepping aside. "He's working late. Come in, you must be freezing." He stepped in, and just like that, the temperature in the house shifted. As I handed him a towel and a dry t-shirt from Edward's drawer, I noticed his eyes never strayed, never disrespected me. But they lingered, long enough that I felt something warm crawl up my neck. I convinced myself I imagined it. That night, over dinner, we talked. I tried not to stare at his hands. His voice had deepened since he was a boy, now it was rich, confident, textured with maturity. He told me about his life in Chicago, how he worked in architecture now, how he needed a break from the city's noise and came down south for peace. Peace, I thought. He had no idea what his presence would stir in this quiet house. The next morning, I woke early and found him in the backyard, shirtless, doing stretches on the old wooden deck. My breath caught. I didn't mean to watch, but something about the way his body moved with such ease, it was impossible to ignore. When he turned and caught my eyes through the window, he smiled again. That same warm, knowing smile. I looked away immediately, embarrassed. But that night, everything changed. Edward called to say he had to attend a 2-day work retreat. I wasn't surprised. It was typical of him to disappear just when I needed companionship. Ben offered to cook dinner. We opened a bottle of wine. I told myself it was harmless, a stepmother and her stepson sharing an adult evening. But there was nothing innocent about how I felt. He cooked with such confidence, sleeves rolled up, his forearms catching the light. I watched him, laughing at his dry humor, the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled. When he handed me a plate, his fingers brushed mine, just lightly. But my breath hitched. "Careful," he said in a low voice, eyes never leaving mine. "You're holding your wine like a woman with secrets." I laughed. "And what would you know about that?" "More than you think." After dinner, we moved to the living room. The storm had returned, thunder rolling through the night sky. The mood was thick, electric. We talked about old movies. I curled my legs beneath me, feeling his eyes glance over me more often now. I told myself to stand, to walk away, to go upstairs, but I didn't. Instead, I asked, "Why did you really come back, Ben?" His smile faded, eyes deepening. Because I was tired of pretending I didn't miss home, and maybe because I needed to see something I couldn't stop thinking about. I swallowed hard. "What's that?" "You." The silence that followed wrapped around us like smoke. I blinked, unsure if I heard him right. I opened my mouth to protest, to deflect, but he stood, slowly, and crossed the room, each step measured, unhurried. "You don't have to say anything," he said, his voice a low murmur. "But don't lie to yourself, Evelyn. I see it. I've seen it since I walked through that door. I felt my heart pounding. My body was betraying me, craving something I hadn't felt in years. I'm your—" "Not really," he cut in. "We're adults. We're not blood. And you're lonely." His words hung heavy in the air. I looked into his eyes and whispered, "I try to resist you." His hand reached up, brushing a strand of hair from my cheek. "But I know your weakness." And he did. The way his voice lowered when he spoke. The way his touch never rushed, never forced. The way his breath grazed my skin when he leaned close. He didn't kiss me, not yet. He waited, standing just inches away, letting me decide. I closed my eyes. I should have pulled away. I should have said no. Instead, I leaned in. His lips were warm, soft but firm, his kiss slow and deliberate, not possessive, but full of unspoken desire. My hands rose to his chest before I could stop them, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat under my palms. When we finally parted, the silence was louder than ever. "We can't," I said, breathless. "I know," he whispered. But I couldn't leave without knowing how it would feel. I stepped back, torn between guilt and hunger. "You need to sleep. Guest room's ready." He nodded, eyes never leaving mine. That night, I lay in bed, eyes wide open, heartbeat echoing in my ears. Every nerve in my body was alive, and every thought ran back to that kiss. It wasn't just lust. It was something deeper. Something that made me feel seen again. The next day was a blur. I avoided eye contact, pretended nothing had happened. But the tension was unbearable. I saw the way he looked at me when I walked past, the way his hand lingered when he handed me coffee. That evening, as I folded laundry in my bedroom, he stepped in quietly. I froze. "Sorry," he said. "Didn't mean to intrude. You shouldn't be here." "I know. But I had to say it, I'm not sorry for last night. I've wanted to kiss you since I was a teenager. I never forgot the way you looked at me on your wedding day. I wasn't a boy then, Evelyn. And you're not just a memory now." My heart raced. "Ben. I'll leave tomorrow," he said. "I just needed you to know. You're not invisible. You're not unloved." He turned and walked out before I could stop him. That night, I sat alone in the living room, thunder outside echoing how I felt inside. I realized then that it wasn't just the kiss. It wasn't just the tension. It was how alive I felt, something I hadn't known in so long. The next morning, I found a note on the kitchen counter. Thank you for reminding me what real feels like. Don't forget yourself again. He was gone. When Edward returned, he never asked about Ben's visit. Life returned to normal, but I didn't. Because now, I know what it feels like to be seen. To be wanted. To be desired not for duty, but for who I am beneath the layers of polite smiles and quiet dinners. Ben gave me something more than a kiss. He gave me a big reminder of the woman I used to be, and the woman I still could become. And I don't think I'll ever forget that.